Welcome to round 5 of City Champs Avondale at Player Draw. Today, for this round, we have a matchup between Zach Zent and Tim Pollard. Looks like Zach Zent, we had him before, he's on Delver. Tim Pollard, I believe, is on Lands.
Oh, we just saw land spit out.
Yeah.
Grove, Diamond, Exploration, Wasteland. I missed the other 3 cards.
Either way, that sounds like a fantastic starting hand for Tim.
It's play out. Hope you see a loam next turn. Since you're on the draw, hope you draw the loam and you're just like, I guess I got there.
I mean, depending on what his other cards are, I didn't get a chance to see them.
It was 5 lands and then a diamond and an exploration.
That's not particularly helpful. I mean, the diamond and the exploration is, but 5 lands is...
I can give you that one of them was a wasteland and then one of them was a grove. Glacial Chasm, and I think it was a Ghost Quarter. And
So those wastelands and those ghost quarters against Delver, it's going to be invaluable.
Watching this, it does make me realize we do need to get an Elgato so we can do the 10-second rewinds for ourselves.
Deathrite Shaman, that's a powerful opening play.
Is that another exploration? Come on, Tim, are you just going to play the entire hand right here? I hope so.
Lands has been known to do that. Diamond... Ghost Quarter.
I was right, it was a Ghost Quarter.
I'm surprised. He doesn't... I have the perfect knowledge, but...
What's your perfect knowledge?
I know what both players are playing.
Oh. Yeah. Punishing Fire. Aww. It's pretty good. Puts Zach back to 2 mana for his turn, if he lands.
If there's one thing, though, that Delver is really good at, it's operating on a very few amount of lands. It's streamlined, it runs 19 lands, no basics.
Seems like Tim knows the light drop.
Hmm?
What is left in his hand? Oh. That's why Probe always feels really bad against lands.
Most view the lands player's hand cards, especially discard spells, 'cause it's like, oh crap.
I guess he still got it.
I either can't take anything, or I take something that he wants in the graveyard.
It's like stripping cards out of a reanimated player's hand. You just have to acknowledge that sometimes you just fail. Interesting fact, if you're going to Phoenix Comic-Con, the artist for Deathrite Shaman is going to be there this year. So, bring yours to get signed.
Zach Zent ponders.
Why can I never remember Steve Argyle?
I don't know.
That's the artist.
So Zach is under a lot of pressure right now. When Lance gets an explosive start like that, they tend to keep that ball rolling. Turn 1 Delver, or turn 2 Delver is very powerful though. The fact that he has a Deathrite Shaman in play,
it helps out a lot.
it helps out a lot. I mean, most people dread the turn 1 Delver. I dread the turn 1 Deathrite Shaman.
As you know, losing resources is pretty bad. Intuition.
So he's on Ruglands.
This has made Zach's plan a lot more difficult.
Yes, it did. So if I were him, I would be getting at least a Punishing Fire, and combo pieces, probably.
Oh, he's getting an E. It looks like he's... Ooh, that's so cute, I like it.
What? The E?
Originally he was grabbing E and Academy Ruins.
I mean, that's a combo piece for Ruglands. That's one of their main win cons. Another good option.
He's going Punishing Fire, Tabernacle, and Loam. There's no real good option for Zach right there.
Tabernacle is really good against Delver because they operate on so few lands, and when you can deny them their mana, they just can't deal with it. I would actually prefer getting the Tabernacle over the Engineered Explosive Lock. Engineered Explosive Lock is still vulnerable to.
Well, here's the big problem right now is that there's no blue source after EE goes off.
That's what I'm saying. It's not a solid plan. It's vulnerable to artifact hate. It's vulnerable to
Land hate.
Land hate. I mean, he's got to know that he's on Delver, so he's got Wastelands in his deck. I mean,
So Molten Vortex, Punishing Fire, and a Life from Loam.
yeah, his number one priority is getting rid of that Deathrite Shaman. Because once you get rid of that Deathrite
Which
Shaman...
one do you not want to have out of those three?
What were the 3 cards again?
Life from Loam, Punishing Fire, and Molten Vortex.
I don't want the Life from the Loam. I want that in the graveyard.
Well, lucky for Zach, that's what happened there.
I probably would have gone with something juicy to encourage him to bin that, to allow me to at least keep one of the 2 Punishing Fire effects. I don't like the loam because they're always going to give you the loam.
But Tim needs it to find gas right now.
That is, yeah. But the thing is without being able to dredge right away, his first loam is going to be kind of wasted because I think he only has a Ghost Quarter in his graveyard,
Yes.
which is going to get eaten by the Deathrite Shaman anyways.
Well, right here he can go. I think he has a Glacial Chasm in hand, so he could go Glacial Chasm, eat one of his lands, Life and Loam, get back the land he ate, and his Ghost Quarter. And it gets him up 2 lands. Lets him sit behind no damage for a couple of turns. Sadly, Deathrite still eats past that.
Yeah. I did like his pile that was, or not his original one, but his middle one that was Tabernacle, Punishing Fire, and EE. Although I would have probably switched the EE for a Molten Vortex. Because that just says either way your stuff is dying.
So he's going to grab the,
And he's going to force
to grab it, yeah. You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, things aren't great right now for Tim. They're not bad. So this is first land. It's going to take out one of his lands. In theory, you can strand him on 0 lands right here.
I would take the blue source. His green source is only for the Deathrite Shaman.
Well, here's the thing: is he gets to loam and grab, and still has 2 lands left.
True.
A ton.
And that's a Ghost Quarter?
Yes. With the good art. The one that has the original ghost ads on it.
Mm-hmm.
Loaming. Good choice.
Generally, in a situation like this, where you've got pretty much most of the gas, or most of the board presence, loaming is the better option.
Yeah.
You tend to want to draw more when you're looking for specific cards that aren't lands, because, you can't kill them. He's also still digging for another Punishing Fire, which you're perfectly fine loaming away.
So So he's going to eat the thespian stage. And it's sad, there's now double life and loam in the discard pile. So you can't really eat through them in any real timely manner. So Tim has 4 turns. 3 turns.
That should be more than enough time for him to
judge and find gas.
Yeah. In a worst case scenario, I think he has an engineered explosives in hand.
No, that was milled.
Oh, that was milled. Ooh, second Delver.
Third loam.
There's the Academy ruins and the Tabernacle.
Well, the Tabernacle changes things.
The Tabernacle changes everything. Because it forces him to either sacrifice his good Delver or sacrifice his Deathrite Shaman. And then he got the Academy ruins, which will allow him to establish that lock.
Okay, the Tabernacle.
I would be fine with him eating the Tabernacle.
So the last card in hand is the Glacial Chasm. Which is fine, because it just says that he gets an additional, like, 2 to 3 turns.
With 2 explorations out, he can still actually net lands while Glacial Chasming.
The problem is that he has to leave it up at least a turn, because Deathrite will eat it.
I still say that Tim is in a very comfortable position. He's...
He has to roll it back because he didn't read Glacial Chasm beforehand. He didn't realize that that's what Glacial Chasm did. Because Lands is the only deck that plays it anywhere.
It's a really bad card.
It's on that wall of, I don't know if you're playable or not. So he's going to grab
He's got the engineered explosive block, and that'll save him, because now, with the rules change, Delvers have a CMC of 1, not 0.
He
so he can hit
0 too.
Well, yeah, but but now he gets to hit the Deathrite Shaman and the Delvers.
Yeah.
In one fell swoop.
Yeah. Unfortunately, everything goes away but the diamond, so.
Well, he's already got the
lock,
land advantage, and he's got the lock.
And he'll be able to recur his life and loam. So Tim is in a really good position.
One thing he still has to watch out for is lightning bolts.
Well, a force here is what decides the game.
Hmm?
A force will decide the game. Because if Zach can force it, Zach wins.
I mean, like, Tim is not out of the water yet.
Yeah.
It hits the Delvers too. Yep, he's pointing that out.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are still not used to that rules change.
Because they never really advertised it. So what was it? In
Shadows.
It was in Shadows? In Shadows, they changed the rule. Before, it was the back side of a card. The flip side of a card had a CMC of 0. But they changed it so that it now shares the CMC with the front side. It wasn't very well advertised, which is surprising considering,
It's a huge change.
it's a huge change in a set that had flip cards. And I guess obviously a lot of legacy players might not pay attention to the goings-ons in standard.
If you're not playing standard, you don't know. And it was the part that was really hard about it was literally near the bottom of the article.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, it was either in the middle or the bottom of the updated rules text for Shadows.
But like, Tim is in a pretty good position now. He still can lose.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
He died to just land bolt. But
So he needs to find a way to win.
which hopefully he finds. Just
He hit the punishing fire,
he wasted the grove.
or the grove.
I heard him only 3 lands is pretty good. The explorations are gone.
I'll go tell him.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Daniel. I mean, it doesn't change the play strat, but it does change him just being able to machine gun his lands into play. Could you imagine how silly engineered explosives would be if it wasn't symmetrical?
It would be downright broken.
I think everyone would play some version of like Bomberman and Vintage. I would definitely try to get Bomberman combo with LEDs in Legacy. For those of you who aren't familiar, it's Black Lotus or LED with Oyak salvages. You make infinite mana and then you shoot someone to death with a Pyrite Spell Bomb. It's beautiful. Beautiful.
So now the question is, can
Well, he found a Punishing Fire, so
found the punishing fire?
he'll get there in 13 turns.
Turns is 13 cards that Zach gets to see.
Yeah. Oh, it's also 13 turns of loaming every turn.
True. I mean, he'll eventually hit his Dark Depths combo, because I assume that's what he's going to go for now.
Or he'll eventually hit another Grove of Bone Willows, so they can do it twice a turn. And take it from 13 turns
To 6.
Yeah. Chalice
Main
at
board
1.
Chalice on 1.
It makes perfect sense. This has to be the force.
It has to. He has no way to win other than that. Because he has no permanents are going to ever enter the board again. The only option he has is to bolt him.
Or go to next game.
Or go to next game.
Which is probably the fastest and easiest way. Man, EE. Get him
Rug Delver is so underappreciated.
Rug Delver?
Rug Delver.
Yes, it is.
Rug Lands, well, yes, Rug Delver is underappreciated, but Rug Lands is also extremely underappreciated as a lands deck. Most people are more familiar with the red-green version that is more all-in combo.
Or if you're from Arizona, the Dark Depths combo deck.
That's not a lands deck.
It wins off of lands?
But it's not a lands deck. Maverick runs the Dark Depths combo.
Yeah, it does. I thought about putting it into Nick Fit, because why not?
Aggro Loam runs the Dark Depths combo.
It's a lot of decks that run the Dark Depths combo.
Because it's a compact, easily tutorable win con.
Worst case scenario, it is literally one of the best blockers in the game. They had 2020 flying indestructible creatures are pretty good blockers. So what do you think gets sideboarded in for Tim?
For Tim, against Zach, I would bring in chalices if he has more chalices, because I doubt that he's running 4 chalices main board.
Yeah, that seems actually pretty bad.
Some way to deal with artifacts, because this is weird to sound, but Delver loves. I mean, at least this is my experience as a red green player. So
You'll be seeing Pithing Needles.
you'll be seeing pithing needles. I mean, because he won't be naming the thespian stage. He'll be naming engineered explosives. Because
Or
he
Molten
needs,
Vortex.
or you rarely see them
It
name Molten
depends on where.
Vortex.
It depends on where you're at.
Depends on what the game is. I mean, I'm not a Delver player, so I wouldn't know, but I would.
Like
The lock, especially as a Delver player, where your only like 1 or 2 CMC things is your Gurmag Angler.
So you're thinking number 1 goes on to E, number 2 goes on to Molten Vortex.
No, I would say number 2 still goes on Thespian stage.
But Delvers are pretty good blockers, which is my takeaway.
They buy you a turn, but Delver doesn't actually have a lot of tools to deal with Merit Lages.
I don't know, I figured I'd just kill through.
Their best tools to deal with Merit Lages are preventing it from happening in the first place. Wastelands, surgicals.
Which we know Zach's bringing in.
Which we know Zach is bringing in, because he'd be crazy. Yeah. And that's another reason that I mean, I personally run 4 chalices. I'm a big fan of bringing them in and putting them on 1 to stop that surgical, because otherwise I have no other way to do it. I have other ways to protect stuff. I can protect my loams with
Recycling
tranquil thickets, but that can't protect my punishing fire. That can't protect my lands themselves.
Well, you can still protect your punishing fire by going and finding a grove, grabbing the targeted one back. I know it's not great. It's a suboptimal line, but it exists. So it looks like we're going into the next one. I think it's always just bad that I have to play devil's advocate when we talk about lands. That's pretty rough.
That is a gross hand.
I mean, you're missing another green source, ideally. Like if one of those loans was green source, or the E.
I mean, he's on the draw.
Yeah.
So he's the likelihood of him drawing a green source is actually fairly high. A green source is something that can get him a green source.
Let's see if Zach has had to remove a surgical. Because if he does, this is actually pretty good for him.
Looks like he fetched.
Cabal Therapy.
It could be a Cabal Therapy.
Take out both of the,
Take out the loams.
and then immediately surgical him. Because that would be a huge hit to him.
That would be a big hit.
But again,
because his hand essentially hinges on those loams. Opens with the Deathrite Shaman,
which seems pretty good. I don't know if that was good or not.
So against Delver.
So I'm a greedy Magic player. Before I explain my motives, I'm greedy. I'll admit to it. In an ideal universe, I'd be able to go chop, exploration, wasteland.
The big thing is that you know that Delver operates on very few lands. Again,
Yes.
19 or 18 lands. I can't remember. They're very greedy.
I want to say it's 18, and 18 still seems high. Some people could lower. I know some
chances
16.
the chances of them running out of lands if you wasteland them enough is very high. And like, even though he's got a Delver and a Deathrite Shaman out, he's got plenty of time.
Especially
Because at the worst case scenario, he already has it out with the EE. So and just be like, I don't care. Just looks like Zach bolted him,
That's pretty good.
but he didn't get the flip.
See, now that's kind of rough.
And
That's better.
I'll tell you that Lance Delver matchups, I've played a lot of Lance Delver matchups.
You play in Arizona. It's Delver City.
There is going to be a lot of wastelands. It is not entirely uncommon for both players to have no board presence. Even the Lance player.
At least there's a total of 5 permanents in play.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so if I'm Zach, I would be keeping up the pressure,
That's
keep
pretty good.
eating lands. Now that he has a threat in play, it's a lot harder to just, especially a different CMC threat. That's important.
Let's hope that we see a land here for Tim. Because then he can, in theory, go wasteland, shoot that second land. Let's see if Tim's greedy or not.
I feel that that was the right play for Tim. He needed it.
He needed it not to be death right.
Zach's land base was, or not land base, creatures were starting to get a little out of control.
Man, Zach's seen a lot of lands this game. Feel like there was no gas. I mean, that's probably for the best.
And the bad part about Young Pyromancer for Zach is that if he has no gas, he is not going to be able to maximize his token production. And if Tim can get another EE online, all that work is just going to go.
It's 2 mana, board wipe all the tokens.
Yep. Yeah.
This way he can always blow up the fetched land.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is part of the reason why I've always wanted there's not some version of like lands that plays white, so they have access to like Aven Mind Senses and stuff. Just a greedier, controllier mana base.
It's called aggro loam.
They don't play Mind Senses. That's what my thought is hinging on, because I love Mind Sensor. I like the idea of being able to ghost quarter your opponent and then be like, fine. And
Well, the ghost quarter is largely because they're gonna run out of basics eventually. You know, your typical legacy deck that's not Death and Taxes, Burn,
or Nick Fit. Who plays 9 basics.
Plays
tries
like
to get through them.
Plays like 2 to 3 basics. Lands itself only plays 1. Delver plays none.
Delver sometimes plays 1.
Grixis Delver plays none.
Sometimes they sideboard 1.
Sometimes you'll see 1 on the sideboard.
Anytime you sideboard basic land, I love it.
Storm plays them in the sideboard. board. But the idea is that since you can recur them constantly, they're just as good as the Rashadan port used to be, and cheaper.
Significantly. Because it's what, $4 per playset of Ghost Quarters?
No, they're like 250 a pop.
That's the reprinted Commander. So it's like, I'll give you $5. This is getting a little rough here.
Delver for Zach.
There you go.
That Tabernacle.
That Tabernacle though.
You can see Zach's reaction to seeing the Tabernacle in there. He is not pleased.
Too bad that Tim didn't tap as well as he could have.
He should have tapped the Thespian stage so he could have ghost quartered out
And taken everything.
and taken everything.
But you also have to assume that he plays one basic. You always
Against Grixis Delver, I would not assume that. I would assume they play no basics.
I always assume one because there's going to be that day where I don't, and I ghost quarter or I blow up a veteran recruiter, veteran explorer, something.
His Delver does not flip. That is bad beats for Zach. That Tabernacle might just turn this game around.
Yep.
Because now his Delver's gonna die.
He's only 3 volts away. Or it's always such a mess to watch a Lance player play.
When I play lands, I try and make sure that all of my permanents are in the front row where people keep their creatures. I find that it keeps the board a much cleaner, especially considering that my dredge pile.
Zach just drew and didn't look at it. It's just he's thinking about it, like what the out is here.
At this point, Tim's not gonna kill him quickly, so he's got time.
The perfect universe out is like go land Deathrite. Deathrite will pay for itself.
I mean,
so you can go land go Margangler and punch. And
But
then,
at this point, I mean, he's got a wasteland and a ghost quarter in play.
yeah,
So even he can just start chaining those.
yeah.
With a loam. Zach is not going to keep a land for more than a turn.
Yeah, he in a perfect universe he might have.
And he scoops it up.
Yeah.
Lands is a very rough matchup for Delver.
Because you can't counter anything.
There's nothing. There's nothing to counter, and if you counter the loam, they don't care.
They'll just do it next turn. It's fine.
The Tabernacle is just so good against it.
I like that sideboard. That card. It's an ancient grudge.
Let's see what Tim's sideboard chalices calls
You
that.
got it.
Revoker.
Because you have to stop a Deathrite. And a Tireless Tracker.
Tireless Tracker. Tireless Tracker is such a good card in lands. If it were better, it would totally see mainboard play. Or, not if it were better, if it fit more into the game plan of lands.
So, I'm just a huge fan of that card. I'll gush about it for the next hour and a half if you let me. If I could, I'd find room to mainboard in. It sees mainboard play in, like, some different versions of lands or lands-esque decks. It sees mainboard in Neckfit because sometimes you go Veteran Explorer, Psychic, get 2 clues, Cracker Fetch, you have 3 clues, and then I guess I'll just draw 3 cards. I mean, I've ended up with a 21 power Tireless Tracker before. Because sometimes you get both online, play a land, and then add value. But it's a tough matchup.
It is a tough matchup for Delver. Well, that's the last round for City Champs Avondale.
We'll be going into top 8 after
We'll be
this.
cutting the top 8, so we will see you in the top 8. This is Dan signing off.
This is Gray signing off. And remember, Tabernacle is really, really good. I hate that card.